Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside Career Technical Education. It's so great to be back with you again for this podcast. I'm Ann Baldwin.
And I'm Jim Bologa, President and CEO of PorterChester Institute and YTI Career Institute.
So we've got a great guest today, Jim. I'm so excited. I've met him already. He's Dan Cavalli, and he's a service manager for Hoffman Nissan, which is located, as you well know, because that's where you service your car, in West Simsbury. And I met Dan because he actually has hired some of the Porter and Chester Automotive Technician graduates. So Dan, again, is the service manager for Hoffman Nissan. So Dan, welcome to this podcast, and I'm going to give you a big question to start. You and I have already met, and you had mentioned that you've been in the industry a long time. How has automotive technology changed over the past couple of years?
Sure. So I would definitely say that back in the good old days, it was very mechanically challenging. But now I would say our technicians are more IT technicians really than mechanical, just based on all of the computers and technology that these vehicles have. Again, they really need to almost have a degree in computer engineering to be able to stay up to date with all the new trends.
And you bring up a good point, Dan, because, Jim, that's why the hands-on experience in your program is so critical.
Yeah, and I would echo what Dan's saying. I mean, I've been at PorterChester Institute now for 13 years, and I would say that my recollection was when I joined 13 years ago, and Dan, you can confirm this, I would say that probably 30 or 40% of the car was electronic, back in the late 2000s, if you will. And today it's probably closer to 80%, and in some cars it's probably more than that. And to Dan's point, I mean, I think, for young people who might be listening to this podcast and their families, it used to be, a way that somebody could get into this. If you were interested in cars, you could actually buy a box of tools, if you will, or use your parents, or your dad's, your mom's, your uncle's, your aunt's tools. And, you could go out and you could mechanically get involved in the car. There wasn't such a huge component of the electronic piece that you need a scan tool, you need other technology, as Dan had sort of mentioned. And so you could actually develop pretty good mechanical skills historically. You still need those skills, obviously, but so much nowadays, at least what we see and what we hear from folks like Dan is that you're almost, like he said, an IT professional, because you're having to look at error codes and and connect to the car's computer. So yeah, it's amazing to me, and in a relatively short period of time, how much has changed in the automotive industry.
So let me ask you this: what kind of skills are you looking for in a potential employee?
Absolutely. So the most important skills that we're really looking for are definitely attention to detail. These jobs are so detail oriented. You need to when you're doing a job, a big job, you're taking something apart. It has to go back together the exact same way. So attention to detail is so important. Definitely, we're looking for people that are hardworking. Definitely need to have good work ethic. Definitely, honesty and integrity is a big one. One of the biggest complaints out there about dealerships and such is, lack of trust. So we're really, really big on trust. So again, honesty and integrity from our technicians is huge. We definitely need to have that ability to multitask. Sometimes technicians are working on 2 or 3 jobs at a time, so having that ability to multitask is hugely important. And lastly, I would definitely say one of the most important one is efficiency. Being able to get the job done right the first time is huge, because when you're dealing with someone's $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 car, they don't want to have to come back to something wasn't done right. So definitely efficiency and getting the job done right is a huge skill that we're looking for.
One of the things that I'd love for you to maybe talk about a little bit, Dan, is how you've helped technicians who are in your employ move to new areas of using technology. Because again, I think one of the things that I think some of us out there think that you just become a technician and then you're a technician for life, but you really have to subscribe to lifelong learning. Given the advancements every day in technology, whether it's in the automotive industry or any other industry. And I have to say that when I started getting videos embedded in my text from the service person at Hoffman, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And the fact that, the technician was the one taking the video and then talking into the iPhone and sharing like what they are seeing. So you really got to experience, the underneath of your car or the inside of your car or whatever they were looking at. And they provided the consumer a little bit of education. I mean, maybe you could talk just a little bit about how you as an organization have approached, using technology.
Sure. So I think that's kind of a two-part question. So first off, really, again, going back to that technology and a lot. And so the biggest thing with that video is we're allowing the technician to be the star, because in the end, the technician is the star. Far too often when you come into a dealership, you're talking to a service advisor who's essentially taking the words of the technician and then essentially, putting in their own words and talking with the customer. So this allows the technician to be the star, because the technician really is the star. He's the one that has all the knowledge. He's the one actually making the recommendations. So that video actually allows the customer to gain a relationship with the person who's actually working on the vehicle. It gives the technician a face and a name. It allows a customer to sit there and say, hey, you know what? I've had Frankie work on my car twice. Could he work on my car again? Like, I really enjoy his videos. So again, it allows them to be the star, which is really who should be the star. So that's why I think that's why I love Hoffman. Again, we're definitely ahead of the curve when it comes to some of that technology. I think the feedback that we've gotten from customers are literally your exact feedback, if not better. I mean, everyone loves it because, like you said before, seeing is most certainly believing.
Yeah.
So that's one part of that question.
Yeah, it's great transparency. I agree. It's a great job, and kudos to you and the team at Hoffman. But go ahead. I'll let you keep going.
You.
Yeah.
Sure. And the second part of that question, so now what are we doing with our technicians to make sure that they're staying up to date? So the great thing with our manufacturer and most manufacturers is we have to send our technicians out to training. So they're doing online training here in our dealership that's been given by the manufacturer, and then we'll actually send them out to training. Our local training site is actually in New Jersey, so we'll send them out to New Jersey. It's an all expense paid trip down to New Jersey, and they get to enjoy their time for a couple of days. They do some hands-on training, given by actual Nissan certified teachers. So they'll give them some teaching, and then they have on-site hands-on training, and then usually there's some sort of testing at the end to make sure, obviously, that they're grasping the training that they're given. So that allows them to stay up to date, to grow. I mean, usually, again, when you're getting a basic candidate coming in, usually they're either doing basic loop tech work or sometimes C-tech work, which again is going to be very, changing tires, changing brakes, simple stuff like that. And then throughout their career, we send them out. We give them the opportunity to learn to become master certified technicians. And once they become the master certified technicians, that's when they really start making some really, really good money. Again, once they become that highly certified technician.
So there's career advancement. The other thing you talked about, Dan, here is the continuing education that all dealerships and all brands provide to their service people. So one thing I want to touch upon, and then we got to wrap this thing up, is, you talked about how you guys kind of do the blended learning there at Hoffman. Same thing here at Porter and Chester, where a lot of the training is online. But then again, they've got a beautiful facility at some of their campuses that looks just almost like your garage over at Hoffman. So you've got some similarity there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important for the listeners to sort of pick up on that nuance. And I think, Dan, that was awesome to share that because, I think in this day and age, I mean, everything is changing post-COVID. And I think that, more and more folks are becoming they understand the flexibility of blended or hybrid learning, in that, it's lecture online. You've got to engage in material and do some self-learning. And for some of us, we have to actually figure out how to relearn how to learn in a way.
It's the new world. It's the new way of education.
Yeah. And I think the other great thing, that I think goes hand in hand with that is again, Dan mentioned hands-on, on ground, training and education, in an industry modeled environment, right, where you can replicate, the real world, if you will. And I think the combination of those two is exceptionally powerful ways for folks to continue to learn throughout their lives. Because, I think what everybody's sort of coming to the conclusion about is that, technology is moving at a pretty fast pace. I mean, even in, and I don't want to say even in the automotive industry, but in every industry. And I think that, the days of sort of one and done, in terms of getting a credential, or getting some skills-based training, you have to subscribe to lifelong learning if you want to really be successful.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, great job opportunities out there, right, for automotive technicians right now. Now's the time to look into getting, this certification. And I want to encourage folks, if you're interested or know somebody who might be a perfect fit, and you could be just out of high school, you could be an adult learner, you could be a veteran, you could be, a stay-at-home mom, whatever it is you want to be, especially with the flexibility of the blended program, we invite you to go to PorterChester.edu for more information. So Dan Cavalli, keep up the good work over at Hoffman Nissan in West Simsbury, and thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. And of course, we couldn't do this without you, our viewers, so thank you for tuning in to this podcast, Inside Career Technical Education.